At the edge of a forest, there lived a woodcutter with his wife and his 2 children from a previous wife. The boy's name was Hansel, and the girl's name was Gretel. They often didn't have enough bread to eat. One year, a great famine came to the land, and they grew poorer and poorer. One night, the woodcutter said to his wife, "How can we feed our poor children when even you and I have nothing to eat?" His wife told him to take Hansel and Gretel deep into the forest and leave them there. She gave him no peace until he agreed to her plan, although he really didn't want to.
How can we feed our poor children?
Early tomorrow morning, we'll take the children out in the forest and leave them there. The children couldn't sleep because of their hunger, and they heard what their stepmother had said to their father. Gretel became worried, weeping bitterly. "Don't cry," Hansel said. "I'll take care of you." And as soon as his parents had fallen asleep, Hansel opened the door and crept outside. He gathered the white pebbles in front of the house, filled his jacket pockets with them, and went back into his room.
I have a plan.
The stepmother awoke the children just before sunrise the next morning. She gave each one a little piece of bread and took them to the forest. Hansel kept stopping again and again. He dropped the shiny pebbles from his pockets on the road to mark the way that they were taking. When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father told Hansel and Gretel to pile up some wood so that he could light a fire. Then the stepmother said, "We'll go and cut some more wood. When we're done, we'll come back and take you home." Hansel and Gretel waited for their parents until midday came. Because they could hear the blows of an axe, they thought that the father was nearby. But that sound was only a branch that the father had tied to a dead tree and that the wind was beating back and forth. "Do you hear that? It's our father cutting wood nearby."
Yes, our father will take us home later.
After waiting for a long time, they fell asleep. When they awoke, it was already dark. Gretel began to cry, but Hansel comforted her and said, "Wait until the moon rises, and then we'll find the way home." When the moon rose, Hansel took Gretel by the hand. They followed the pebbles that glistened like silver coins. They walked throughout the entire night, and as morning was breaking, they came to their house. "You bad children," said the stepmother when she saw Hansel and Gretel. "We thought you were never coming home." But the father was overjoyed when he saw his children, for he hadn't wanted to leave them alone. "How brilliant you are, my brother!"
Look, the white pebbles will help us find our way home.
Not long afterward, there was another famine throughout the land, and the children heard their stepmother saying to their father, "We have only half a loaf of bread left. The children must go. We'll take them deeper into the woods so that they won't find their way out again." The father didn't want to follow her plan, but he finally had to leave his children in the forest the second time. When his parents were asleep, Hansel got up again and wanted to gather pebbles as he had done before, but the stepmother had locked the door, so he couldn't get out. Early the next morning, the stepmother awoke Hansel and Gretel and gave each one a little piece of bread, even less than the last time. On the way into the forest, Hansel crumbled his piece, then often stood still and threw crumbs onto the ground.
Hansel, what are you looking at? Hurry up!
I see the pigeon sitting on the roof. Hansel and Gretel were once again left alone in the deep forest. Evening passed, but no one came to take the poor children home. Hansel said to his sister, "Just wait, Gretel, until the moon rises. We'll see the crumbs of bread that I scattered, and they'll show us the way back home." When the moon rose, they set out. However, they saw no crumbs, for the many thousands of birds had eaten them all up. They walked in the forest for 3 days and were very hungry, but couldn't find their way home. The birds in the forest ate all the crumbs. How can we find our way home now? Brother, I'm so hungry. Suddenly, they saw a white bird flying in front of them. They followed it until they came to a little house made entirely from bread, a roof made of cake, and the windows made of clear sugar. Hansel broke off a little of the roof to eat, and Gretel tried a windowsill. Then a gentle voice called out from inside, "Nibble, nibble, little mouse, who is nibbling at my house?" The children answered, the wind, the heavenly child." When they were eating, the door suddenly opened, and an old woman emerged. The children were so scared, but the lady said, "Oh, you dear children, don't be afraid of me. Just come in and stay with me."
It's yummy!
"Oh, you dear children, just come in and stay with me. No harm will come to you."
Yes!
Inside the house, Hansel and Gretel went to bed thinking they were in heaven. But the old woman had only pretended to be kind. She was actually a wicked witch who was lying in wait there for children. She had built her house of cakes only in order to lure them to her. If she captured one, she would kill, cook, and eat the child. And for her, that was a day to celebrate. The next morning, the witch grabbed Hansel and locked him in a little stall. Cry as he might, there was no help for him.
How can you escape from my clutches? You'll be fattened up, and when you're fat, I'll eat you. Wicked witch, let me go! Let me go!
Please, let my brother go. Then the witch shook Gretel awake and said, "Get up, lazy bones! Fetch water and cook something good for your brother. He is in the stall outside and is to be fattened up. When he is fat, I'll eat him." Gretel had to do what the witch demanded, and now the best food was cooked for poor Hansel, but Gretel got nothing but crab shells. Every morning the witch asked Hansel to stick out his finger to see if he was fat. He knew that she had bad eyes, so he offered a bone instead of his finger. After 4 weeks, though she thought Hansel still remained thin, the witch grew impatient, asking Gretel to fetch some water to cook him the following day.
Why are you still thin after 4 weeks? Gretel, hurry up and fetch some water. Whether Hansel is fat or thin, tomorrow I am going to eat him.
The next morning, she asked Gretel to heat the oven first, ordering the girl to climb in the oven to see if it was hot enough to put the bread in. When Gretel was inside, she intended to bake her and eat her. Guessing what the witch meant to do, Gretel pretended she didn't know how to get in the oven.
Stupid goose,
said the witch.
See, I myself could get in.
and she crawled up and stuck her head into the oven. Then Gretel pushed her into the oven and shut the door. She ran straight to Hansel and unlocked his stall. They hugged each other, dancing for joy. After filling their pockets with jewels, they returned home. I don't know how to do that. How do I get inside?
Stupid goose! See, I myself could get in. Ah!
On the way home, a white duck helped Hansel and Gretel get across a large spring. Arriving home, they threw their arms around their father's neck. The man hadn't had even one happy hour since he had left the children in the forest. And now he was all alone, for the stepmother had died. Hansel and Gretel showed their father jewels in their pockets, and all three of them lived in peace, comfort, and happiness ever after. Hansel and Gretel overcame all the challenges and finally reunited with their father. It's such an interesting story about family, isn't it? Family is always the most peaceful thing that gives you power during your difficult time. I hope you will be brave like the two children in the story and enjoy happiness in your family. Goodbye and see you again.
The spider out. Out came the sunshine and dried up all the rain.
Sao vậy đi?
Mọi người cứ về đi, con phải ở đây ngủ một giấc.
Stop! Gingerbread man, you'll be mine.